Good evening. This is Eswatini TV News at 8, read to you by myself, Notilesi Tole, alongside Zamanzi Manze. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. The Prime Minister has informed members of Parliament about government service delivery strategies. The Minister for Health has received 100,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine donated by the United States of America. Schools will revert back to normal learning and teaching process from Monday next week. To kick off the bulletin, we'll have a look at parliamentary business. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini has presented to members of Parliament how government is improving public service delivery. This was during the closing ceremony of the MP's retreat, which was also attended by government officials, which was held at Eswatini Revenue Services offices.
The members of Parliament's retreat, which is also attended by government's officials, started on Monday. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini during the retreat presented on what government is doing to improve public service delivery. Dlamini touches on some of the reasons behind challenges resulting in government's failure to implement some of the projects in the national budget. He says at times government's procurement process can also be delaying, adding that at times government has to divert funds for budgeted projects for disasters and emergency projects.
Kuyendeka ke nako lokho ukuthi kube nema inefficiencies. Cabanga ke sike ngikho lapho bahlonishwa bavele bafuna bakhale khona nekuswebhu ukhale ukuthi awu lapha ke ngumuntu lolelethi kwemsebenzi la konke bekuphelele but akukendeki ngani kunema processes ke kahulumende lakhamba sabo namsengwabonile ngifika nje uthi nangabe kwendekile kwephukana sivalo nasi kunemuntu la eceleni lolungisathi ivalo awusuki nje uqonze kulomuntu uthi sephukele sivalo sicela usilungise dala uyakubo tender committee awufika ku tender committee ngena ngabe bakuvumela uthola tender waiver uthi awucela kucashana ngumuntu bakuvumela umcasha abuya alungise nangabe njalo bangakavumi akunenza abasinhleli ngaphandle banitshela ukuthi no hambani niye kutenda.
Members of Parliament urges government to create job opportunities and decentralized services.
Abantwana abaningi abahlete emuva emakhaya bahlala ku-online lebo-online kuningi lokutholakalayo bothishela solo baku-contract fanele baronyiwele umuntu ayo-retire uyaqualifya unako konke yini le nanzane le profession ingathi ibulawa ngithi purposely kude apha ekudeni losekwendeni lesakhamuti nasiya lapha ekudeni siyofuna nje seyithi kude lakabuya na.
The Prime Minister talked about government's ministry services, saying the Ministry of Public Works and Transport is working on setting up the Road Authority Fund, which will help in maintaining roads. He mentioned that 80% of Eswatini have access to electricity. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Tembinkosi Mavimbele Zulwini.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini also says members of Parliament should engage the public in their constituencies about vandalism of property during protests. Dlamini says government is not saying people should not protest, but they should do so responsibly and not vandalize property.
After members of Parliament made their submissions during the service delivery workshop, Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini then responded to some questions. The Premier stated that other questions would be responded to in due course as relevant ministries have to be consulted.
Bengingasho ukuthi ngithi kumbe bangakustopa lokho kepha nje bengisho kusho ukuthi nangabe ukuthi nakune dissatisfaction at least akungabulawa sisho ukuthi abantu bangaprotest bangakhali but abanga destroy ngiloko nje besikusho wonke umuntu uyayibona ukuthi simo akusiso lesejwayelekile nalawo ma solutions ke labanye bawasuggestile mhlawumbe nasesihleli phansi sitawubonisana ukuthi loku within our means ukuthi singakwenza yini loku beyond yini. I-unemployment is the main concern. Everybody more or less raised that point. How do we address it? So shito lapha deputy speaker ukuthi sivakashi sethu sishito ukuthi akusiyo nje iproblem yala kithi kuphela imhlaba wonke. Ngakho ke ngifuna sibe careful ukuthi si addressa njani sibonisane kude lo nelikhambi ukuthi yena ubona ukuthi kungendiwa njani.
Speaker in the House of Assembly, Petros Mavimbela, said the workshop has opened their minds about government operations.
Poor service delivery has the potential of exacerbating social discontent and has to be addressed purposefully and sincerely. I'm of the view that the topics that were covered since Monday were insightful. Undoubtedly, as honourable members of Parliament, we need to integrate issues of proper planning, ethics and code of conduct in our denouement.
Commonwealth Secretariat representative Dr. Roger Koranteng says peace should prevail.
You have a country that is unique. Please, let calmness prevail. You have enough mechanism in your legal document. The Constitution I've looked at your Constitution that we, the Commonwealth, helped you to craft. There's a lot of mechanism in there that you can use.
For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, Mbabane.
Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini has officially opened a service delivery workshop for senators, which has been funded by the Commonwealth. Dlamini says the workshop will help them understand issues of service delivery. The workshop is held at the Eswatini Revenue Authority's auditorium in Ezulwini.
Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini says the workshop will help legislators have a better understanding of service delivery issues.
In our Westminster system of parliamentary democracy, there is no total separation between the executive and the legislature because the executive is drawn from and accountable to the legislature. The existence of a dynamic relationship between the two arms of government, namely executive and the legislature, is therefore critical in ensuring that Parliament fulfills its three clear mandates of representation, oversight, and legislation.
Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini says they want to open up about service delivery and ensure that senators understand how government goes about it.
Administration and development, decentralization bill, nayo invuna basetakhulumisa ngayo kwelana kulaba bakati inkundla iyona nje le decentralization ukuthi iyini ngoba kubhekeke ukuthi onke lama services yendeka ngolindeke embabane aphume ayilethe inkundleni bayakhala ke lapha abahlongosi awukaze lengoma icalile iyaqala wayihlatshelwa kepha sibonakala isigitsa so ngiyacabanga ukuthi utawuchaza ke naye imvuna thithi asibambisa kuchaza ukuthi mabamba ikuphi lenkinga yakuthi decentralization iphelele phela ibonakala.
Commonwealth Secretariat representative Dr. Roger Koranteng says leadership is one of the many topics he will touch on during the workshop.
Leadership is critical because every country, if you look at the profile at all levels, from the highest level to the village level, you need a leader to bring sanity, to bring direction. Otherwise, there will be chaos if there's no leadership in any endeavor, if there's no direction, if nobody is taking charge of things. So we're going to look at leadership really, in all aspects of leadership.
For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, Ezulwini.
The Minister of Health, Nkosi, has announced that children from the age of 12 to 17 years are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The minister said this following a donation of over 100,000 Pfizer vaccines by the government of the United States of America in an event held at the Central Medical Stores in Matapa.
The Minister of Health, Nkosi, has expressed gratitude to the government of the United States of America for donating Pfizer vaccines to the government of Eswatini.
We are receiving 100,625 doses of Pfizer vaccine today. My key message today is that the vaccines, all of the vaccines are safe. This is the first time, though, that we have a vaccine that we will be able to use to reach children between the ages of 12 to 17. Up to this point, we had vaccines that can only be used for adults and young people from the age of 18 and above. My task here is to express government's gratitude to the U.S. government for the donation, but government's gratitude to UNICEF too. I'm sure that when we came in, you all saw the fridges that we saw there. There are about 5 or 6 fridges. This vaccine requires extra cold storage. So UNICEF was able to donate some of those fridges.
United States Ambassador to Eswatini, Jean Maloney, pledged that country's continued support to Eswatini.
These donations are part of the U.S. government's global efforts to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. The U.S. is pleased to work closely with the Ministry of Health and partners to help distribute and administer the vaccine nationwide. We're proud to be one of the largest donors to Eswatini's COVID-19 response. This assistance has already helped save lives in Eswatini, and it will continue to do so.
UNICEF country representative Amina Mohammed says the fund has donated storage facilities for the vaccine.
Total for the 6 that we will have is 315,000 in Malangeni. So it's not easy. We need to make sure that what has come, we understand that is very, very expensive, from the vaccine itself to the storage facility that is required.
The minister says the importance of taking the vaccine can never be overemphasized. She says taking the jab reduces the chances of one falling too sick from the pandemic. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndlangamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Matapa.
Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says schools will open and operate fully from next Monday. This means that pupils will no longer go to school in turns, but they will attend classes every school day. The minister says learners should go back to school and bear in mind that their future is in their hands.
COVID-19 dealt the Kingdom of Eswatini a huge blow as it resulted in schools having to close, among other things. When they opened, a string of violent protests erupted, resulting to some schools being burnt while others operated partially. Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says Monday is back to school.
Government has approved the reopening of schools in full for all grades every day of the week from the 11th October 2021. This will assist the ministry in implementing fully the compressed curriculum and finish the syllabus in time for the administration of exams in March 2022. It will also ensure that the school calendar for 2022 is completed in December and allow government to bring back normalcy for the academic year starting January 2023.
The minister has asked head teachers to ensure that COVID-19 regulations are followed at all times and further had a message for communities and parents.
May I reiterate government's request to all communities to protect their schools. The violent incidents we have been witnessing not only disturb the learning process and the development of children, they involve costs of rebuilding the schools and create fear and uncertainty among the staff. All these result to expenses not budgeted for.
Howard has asked her teachers to report challenges to regional education officers so they can be assisted. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Ezulwini.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Maxwell Masugu, says his ministry looks forward to the speedy establishment of a SADC TV bouquet, which is a brainchild of the region's heads of states. Masugu was speaking during an official opening for a SADC TV implementation workshop that has brought together members of the Television Bouquet Steering Committee from across SADC.
The idea of the establishment of a SADC TV bouquet first came up with the region's heads of states and was deliberated in detail by ministers of information technology in the region in 2018. Ever since the idea was conceived, the Southern African Broadcasters Association, SABA, is working on ensuring that the bouquet is established so as to afford broadcasters the opportunity to tell the SADC story from the people's perspective. Principal Secretary in the Ministry of ICT in Eswatini says a SADC TV bouquet is long overdue.
It is all about us, so we must do it a lot better ourselves. For far too long, we have complained about the Western domination of news and program content on our television screens and radio. We did not do anything to change the situation for the better.
Acting Eswatini TV Chief Executive Officer Kenneth Mazia says the establishment of a SADC TV bouquet will propel broadcasters in the region to create rich and unique representations and productions of their countries. He, however, acknowledges that challenges still exist in the broadcasting sector in this region.
Infrastructure also remains a key challenge as we need to deal with the language divide within the region and international, and the needs a massive investment on technology that supports closed captions, which helps to break the language divide.
SABA Secretary General Cecil Ngavauva says the time has come for SADC countries to showcase what they are about, their development aspirations, milestones, and possible sustainable solutions for the challenges they face. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Mbongwa Dube at Ezulwini.
The Ombudsman of Financial Services, in partnership with other organizations, has hosted a much-needed webinar on the importance of efficient and speedy dispute resolution mechanisms between clients and service providers. Ombudsman Nondumiso Simelane says speedy mediation helps give relief and closure to affected parties.
The webinar on the power of service, which was hosted by the Ombudsman of Financial Services in Eswatini and other partners, took place on one of the days dedicated to International Customer Service Week, which started on the 4th of October and ends on the 8th. Ombudsman of Financial Services Nondumiso Simelane explains why speedy resolution of disputes is an important pillar of good customer service.
Listening to them doesn't mean that you take the story for a truth. It becomes important to also afford an ear to the person against whom they are complaining so that you get a balanced story. The other thing is, as quickly as possible, you are able to resolve. Try to introduce speed into the resolution of the matter. Then coming to the kinds or categories of disputes that we receive, most of them have related to retirement, whether pension or provident. We have also received a lot of complaints relating to credit. It could be credit on account of money lending or credit on account of things bought or sold to them on credit.
Eswatini Competition Commission CEO Muzi Dlamini says most of the complaints received by the Commission this year have been resolved.
The mechanisms that we use as a Commission include sitting down with the parties to try and resolve these particular matters. This year alone, we've received 26 complaints, I would call them complaints, and we've been able to resolve 17 of those complaints through this dispute resolution mechanism.
Other organizations that were a part of this session include Eswatini Standards Authority and the Central Bank of Eswatini's own Ombudsman Office. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Mbongwadube in Babane.
More than 800 business people are currently paying government services, including trading and liquor licenses, using MTN Momo. Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade Registrar of Companies Msebe Malinga says Eswatini have shown great interest in using MTN Momo.
In the year 2012, government implemented a project whereby business owners have to pay for government services using MTN Momo. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade Registrar of Companies, Msebe Malinga, says there have been a massive decrease in the number of people visiting their offices to pay for services.
We recognize that in the month of July and August, when the trading and liquor licenses were introduced, we saw the numbers increasing to figures of over 300,000 as compared to the other months, with a total number of users of over 800. And we want to encourage and advise Eswatini to use this platform. And these times of the COVID pandemic, it is ideal that we use these platforms.
MTN Eswatini Manager, New Businesses Development, Lungile Mzizi, says the relationship with government have earned the company a recognition in the Customers Service Week.
This partnership with government is being recognized, which means that Eswatini are making sure that innovation is one of the vehicles for changing lives in Eswatini.
Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade Chief Commercial Officer Sonto Hlope urges liquor licenses holders to review their licenses.
I would like to encourage the nation, or rather kind of sensitize the nation, that now is the time of the year whereby we are supposed to be doing renewals for all trading and liquor licenses. So using the mobile money platforms is very efficient and very cost-saving.
Eswatini will soon be able to pay for the Ministry of Public Works and Transport Services using MTN Momo. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Muzi Mkhonta Mbabane.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Good evening once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV. Let's have a look at our sports news. Zimbabwean-born player agent Gibson Mahachi says it is very important for players to have representatives when negotiating contracts with clubs to avoid getting into contracts they do not even understand.
Over the past few seasons, Eswatini players have in many cases found themselves in contract disputes with teams, which at times has resulted in some taking their cases to DC. With the current transfer window still opened, there are many movements happening among players. Zimbabwean-born player agent Gibson Mahachi, who represents players like Osno Basera and Devan Lung, who plays in South Africa, highlights why it is important for players to have representation.
It's very important for players, or soccer players or football players, to have football agents or intermediaries represent them. There's so many benefits to it. First is it helps the players understand the contract that they're getting into in detail. It also helps the club itself to know that they're dealing with a bona fide agent representing the player, and there are no issues of double signing and all those things. And also, it's important for the player because he is well represented by an intermediary who is experienced or who knows the business. And he is also going to get a fair remuneration or a deserving remuneration. that he deserves for that contract.
Matumatingane highlights some of the key things that players should be aware of when signing a contract.
Kukhona tindlu letintsathu lokufuna ukuthi bathi qaphele basakhulumisana nebaqashi babo. So kuqala ukuthi umdlali ufuna athi ukuthi i-contract yakhe iqala nini, iqala nini, iphela nini. So kuze athi lokho kufuna afundzisise kule contract ngoba kukhona la kubhalwe khona ukuthi iqala nini iphela nini. Athi ukuthi yena asesekiyo le contract yini lebhekekile kuye, which is a obligation of a player lokuthi yini lebhekekile ukuthi ayende asesekhona kule club la isayinele asadlala. Then kwesi-3 ukuthi yini lebhekeke ngakumqashi, which is the football club lefuna imendele yona.
He is working hard to have more players try their luck in South Africa. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi, Mbabane.
The Eswatini Olympics and Commonwealth Games Association has confirmed Maxwell Jele as the new Chief Executive Officer of the association. President of the association, Adam Tsefa, says they have confidence that Jele will fulfill their mandate and meet all expectations. Jele's appointment was announced in a press briefing at the Mountain Inn in Mbabane.
Since the Eswatini Olympics and Commonwealth Games Association assumed office in March, they were still to hire a permanent chief executive officer. Maxwell Jele, who was acting CEO, was also serving as vice president. The board and executive committee has since decided to confirm Jele as the permanent chief executive officer of the association. President Adam Tsefa, addressing members of the media, says they have full confidence in Jele to fulfill the mandate of the association.
As a board, we have full confidence in Maxwell's abilities to take the institution to new heights and deliver on the mandate. We would like to thank him for accepting this challenge. Maxwell, as you are aware, is currently the holder of the Best Sports Leader Award following the numerous years successfully leading the Tennis Association as one of the top sports administrators in the country.
Jele had this to say.
For the confidence that they have shown in my abilities, and I do believe that we will certainly work together in delivering on the mandate and ensuring that we get to the heights that we need to get to as sports development in the country. I think, as we are all aware, particularly the mandate of IWOGA is focusing on high performance and ensuring that we produce athletes that can perform exceptionally well in international stage and try and get those podium finishes.
Jele has with immediate effect stepped down as the vice president of the association, and Nhlanhla Maphanga will be acting on that position until a permanent vice president is elected in the next AGM of the association. And Jele will be expected to step down from his presidency position in the Tennis Association. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi, Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a look at our top stories. The Prime Minister has informed members of Parliament about government service delivery strategies. The Minister for Health has received 100,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine donated by the United States of America. Schools will revert back to normal learning and teaching process from Monday next week. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team. Thank you for your company. Good night.
Everywhere you go, MTN.